Thanks.
Awesome.
Okay, so I have two purposes here for this short demo. One, for those who still didn't start using GitHub Copilot, maybe I can convince you why you should. And for those who already started using GitHub Copilot, congratulations. I hope that I'll be able to show you a couple of different tricks that you didn't see yet. So with that, let me share my screen. And just a short anecdote before we start, I have a friend that is raising rabbits, and they started multiplying, so she offered to give me two. But because she knows I have kids and they love it, but I didn't fall for it because I know Fibonacci series. So a short reminder, Fibonacci series is here, GitHub Copilot. Autocompletes every number, next number in the series is the sum of the previous two. So I wanted to use Fibonacci to demonstrate. Let's do Fibonacci here. I didn't even finish writing the name, and GitHub Copilot already knew what I was looking for. It has plugins for almost every IDE. Here I'm using VS Code because it has an additional feature. I hope you see my screen well, and if you do, you can see that it's 1 out of 1 solutions, meaning it offers me right now only a single solution. Sometimes it offers more than one. Let me try again. Maybe I'll get lucky, maybe not. If I have more than one solution offered, I can toggle between them using the control and the square bracket. Sorry, the options and one of the square brackets. You see, I can toggle the different solutions. Also, I can, if I'm not happy with the couple of solutions that I was offered here, I can hit Control Enter, and that asks GitHub Copilot to synthesize up to 10 solutions. Usually it doesn't come up with all 10. It will take it a few minutes, but here you can see that here it actually came, I think, with 9 solutions, which is pretty fine. And I can just pick the one that I like most and use it. But that's not all. I didn't like these solutions because they were all recursive, and I want a solution that is. You can help me. I don't want a recursive solution. I want an
iterative.
Thank you. Thank you, whoever it was. I want an iterative solution. So let's do an iterative solution. Okay, let's do. Oh, you know what? And with memoization. With memoization, because I hate to calculate the same thing again and again. So here it offered me, I think it's a nice solution. I have a memoization array, and then it calculates everything inside the while loop, returns it. That looks fine. There is one small bug here, and that goes to teach us that we can't fully trust whatever Git Copilot throws on us. We need to actually test it. The bug is that this memoization needs to either be defined outside of the function, or we need to do two nested functions, and it will be defined in between, in the scope in between, because we don't want to recalculate the memoization array again and again. We can test it by doing console log Fibonacci 6, and we can do it, let's do it even twice. I actually want, you know what, not 6, let's do the first 10. Let's do the first 10, and I also want to console log the memoization array. Okay, so let me run it. And we see that we see that the memoization array was calculated twice. Maybe I did something wrong. Let me run it again.
It's not near. I don't think it's calculated twice because it's outside of the function. So
no, you're right. It's not calculated twice, but there is another bug. What is the bug? The bug is that the bug is that if I'm using a memoization, I need to actually use it, right? So here it goes again. We can't fully trust it. We need to test it. Let me run it again. And now we should what we should see is actually the array calculated only once, and then the answer is printed twice, which is exactly what we wanted. So far, so good, but at this point, I actually showed it to a couple of friends, and they told me, Nir, that's all great, but we're not in the university, and we're not doing Fibonacci. So what about some concrete examples? And I'll say that you're totally right. So I made here a small, and please ignore this ugly code, but it's a code that actually saves the user to a MongoDB database. Here I have something very simple that is the engine behind it. And now that I have this function, I want to ask GitHub Copilot to help me test the function. So at this point, I like to start with the describe, and it already knows to complete save user. And I like to also do the end like we saw before. And now it already suggested, let's see what it suggested. So here it creates all kinds of mocks, and then it's running a test, which is fine, but it's not exactly what I wanted. So I'll need to be more specific. Test save user, and oops. And what I want is to use Sinon to mock DB put and to mock the logger as well, and the logger. And I also, since I'm working in pod, to use Mocha and Chai. And I also want to test both a happy path and error path. Okay, let's see what I can get now from GitHub Copilot. Note that it takes a few seconds because it's all over the wire, okay? Again, I can ask it to synthesize 10 different solutions, but right now for this demo, I'll just pick whatever it gave me, and let's check it out. So now it actually does use Sinon to mock both the DB and the logger as I requested it. Here is the happy path. Here is the error message, all the excepts. Looks fine to me. Of course, like I said before, we can't trust it yet. I'll need to actually run it and check it. Here I made, usually we do tests on a separate file, so I made a separate file here where I'm copying it. Here, I don't need these comments, code comments anymore, but I do need all the imports that are missing, so I'll let it fetch all the imports. And technically now I'm ready to start testing the unit test. We won't do that. I wanted to show you just one more thing. So Copilot is an LLM, is kind of like ChatGPT. So we can also ask it questions. So I can do something like that. Why do we need to wait for the response? And I can let it answer, because we need to return the response to the client, or maybe another response. If we don't wait, the function will fail before the response is received. That's also an option. Maybe I have more, and the client will get an empty response. So this was a stupid question, so I got stupid answers, but we can ask it smarter questions, like to explain code. We can look at a certain function and ask it to refactor it for us. We can use it to learn new programming languages and probably other things that I didn't think about. So to sum it up, I think that still it's a great productivity tool. We can't totally trust it, so we need to check everything that it gives us. I hope that I was up to what I promised, and I gave you a few things that you didn't know about Copilot. And if you have other usages, other ways, and other stuff that you can do with it, I'd love to hear from you. We have a Slack channel called the Generative AI. Please join us and tell us, share your experience, and teach us whatever you learned. Thank you. That's all for today from me.
Thank you, Nir.